Good morning to you, Jenny. Thanks for taking the time. TikTok, it's been really, just sweeping the globe in terms of how much its user growth has taken over, particularly during kind of the stay-at-home and the quarantine phase of earlier this year.
Yeah, and of course, there's this big news. It seems like we can't stop talking about TikTok the last few days. So, of course, TikTok is nearing an agreement to sell its US, Canadian, Australian, and New Zealand segment. The sale could be announced as early as next week. Sources are expecting it to be between $20 and $30 billion. And of course, the people that are in competition for it are really interesting names. I would have never suspected this partnership between Walmart and Microsoft, and then Oracle. So all three names are up on the day, but analysts are really liking this actual Microsoft and Walmart partnership. I'm just shocked by it. A Jefferies analyst actually said that while no deal is, of course, certain yet, such deal could be a transformative move that could complete Walmart's digital ecosystem. So analysts are liking this kind of new edge Walmart's at least attempting to have. Now we'll wait and see what happens with this deal. But like you just mentioned, Alex, the scale and the growth of this company is phenomenal. So if you look at it compared to the other social media companies, Facebook has 2.7 billion active users. YouTube comes in second with 2 billion users. Instagram's third with 1 billion users. And then TikTok is number 4. TikTok has 800 million users worldwide. So that means it's bigger than Snap, Twitter, Pinterest, all the other smaller social media companies. And it's a new company. It was founded in 2016. And I'm like 100 when it comes to social media, and I don't have Snapchat or TikTok, so I've never been on it. But what I do know is numbers. And so if you look at the numbers, this app has been downloaded 2 billion times from the App Store on Apple and Google Play. It's the most downloaded app on Apple's App Store currently. And in the less than 18 months, the US adult TikTok users grew over 5 times. So the growth you cannot argue with there. This app seems super popular, especially in the fact that we've all been staying home. We've all been on our phones a little bit more. But people are now worried because of this new deal on social media today that this could possibly, shut down TikTok. There could be a stalemate. So that brings me to our first tweet, which says, of course, TikTok engineers must prepare to shut down U.S. operations. They aren't part of any deal that still needs government approval. It will be very interesting to see if China greenlights the sale. Hoping not, but most likely will be forced to because of shareholders. So, this is obviously, there's a lot of speculation on this, whether this is a good thing for ByteDance, which is the parent company of TikTok. But, that there's a lot of opinions on that. It just seems like the general consensus is no one wants TikTok to be shut down. People have a crazy allegiance to this app, and people really love it. And I realize that I'm just terribly uncool because I'm apparently using all the wrong social media apps. That brings me to our next tweet, which says, if you are still investing your time on Instagram, sorry. The 3 platforms you should be investing your time in if you love social media are Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. So, okay, I don't use TikTok, I mentioned. I use Instagram, so apparently I'm super uncool. But Gavin, you did just mention that you loved Twitter, and Twitter has been so prevalent during this pandemic time. But social media is like the most fad-driven industry. So how do you stay relevant here when you're, TikTok or YouTube or Instagram or Twitter? There's so many now.
Yes, in my constant effort to stay relevant, I went on TikTok. I tried to make a dance video, Jenny, and I blew out both my hamstrings and pulled my calf muscle. So I kind of shut that down. My TikTok career was very short. So no, in all honesty, this is not, I am clearly not the demographic for TikTok, but you cannot, anything that exposes you to that many people has to be popular with companies that are trying to reach people. And all you have to do is look at what Amazon has done and what Facebook is doing with shopping online and things like that. And you start to connect the dots where Microsoft can use it with their teams, or where Walmart can use it with their target advertising and shopping. So yes, I mean, it's not a clear path, but I can certainly connect the dots to where these companies, as well as Oracle, may make this a viable, merger between these companies. So I don't discount anything that can reach that many people is worth something. I know that for sure, guys.
Well, one thing's for sure too, Kevin, that's a big price tag that's getting thrown around here. I think what Jenny say, almost $30 billion, some of those numbers being floated around. So paying a lot for the growth, that is for sure. But Jenny Horn, we appreciate it. Have a great weekend, and thanks for joining us. As we say goodbye to Jenny, we want to welcome in Megan Brantley, the VP of Research at LikeFolio.com, to join the conversation. And so, Megan, you guys are analyzing data. You're looking at user trends. And I'm sure that this is one of the craziest growth trends that you guys have watched. But is this going to be the new major player, or already is it a major player in social media? Or is this a fad? Is this Vine, which ultimately ended up being kind of a disappointing purchase for Twitter?
From our data perspective, so we took a look at mentions of users downloading and using TikTok. And what we saw is that there's this extreme surge over quarantine, but this was already growing in the past year. And now, even after quarantine, this usage and these download rates continue to grow. I think that we're pacing up 520% in the last 90 days versus the past year. And they were already experiencing explosive growth then. So this is really powerful. I think that you can also see on the axis, this is some serious scale. When you're talking about a couple thousand mentions a day, that's really relevant. And this does place TikTok in the arena of the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the Snapchats, the Pinterests. I think that Jenny alluded to those numbers that, this TikTok is a major player in the social media sphere, and their growth rate is really impressive.
Yeah, Megan, real quick.
Megan, real quick here, I'll dive in.
Who do you think?
Go ahead, Kevin.
Sure, go ahead, what I'd like to know, Megan, is in the early stages of TikTok, like this is, what comparison, what other company does TikTok compare to? Does it compare more favorably to Twitter, Facebook, Amazon? Where does this lie, or is it one that I'm clearly missing? Do you guys have any data like that reaches a comparison between any of these companies?
Yeah, I think that it depends on which element of TikTok you're looking at. From an ad and e-commerce comparison, this is almost like an Amazon. You can see a natural crossover of targeted advertising and product placement, and even purchasing an app that could be produced here. From a social media standpoint, this reminds me a lot of Pinterest, and the fact that, TikTok is really hinged on discovery. You don't necessarily go on to just follow your friends. You're going on to discover this content, discover different brands. You're going to be entertained and to find something. So in that sense, that's kind of like an advertiser's dream, which is why we've seen Pinterest have so much success recently. From a content perspective, they remind us a lot of a Netflix, because you want to talk about original content creation. TikTok has, a ton of original content. And the crazy thing is they're not even having to pay to have this original content created. So I think it just kind of depends on where you're looking. But what we do know is that TikTok is really good at personalizing the algorithm. The users that are using TikToks are really enjoying the content that they're consuming, and they're increasing the rate of consumption. So this is definitely one to watch, and it's going to be a fun one to watch unfold.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, Megan, that it's going to be interesting to watch unfold, but to kind of play maybe kind of being sour on TikTok, let's say, just since I think everything that you read is very positive on it. To me, this is an experience. You say you go on there, you don't know what you're going to see, you look to be entertained. To me, an advertisement, unless perfectly placed, is intrusive to that experience, where that's kind of how it is on Snapchat. Whenever you have an ad on Snapchat, you kind of are just annoyed by it. Where if you see one on Instagram, it almost like it makes sense. It's just kind of within your feed. Maybe it's a new shirt that you wanted to buy, whatever it may be. So to me, it's just about how much is that ad expected. And I'm not so sure that it is on a TikTok experience. But one other thing, this is really where my question is, Megan. You watched kind of as stories developed on Instagram. And that was obviously the big thing that Snapchat brought to the table. And while I noticed within my own social circle that maybe Instagram stories took a little bit to catch on, that seems to be where all the stories are now. You don't really see them on Snapchat, at least to the same extent. Is that what may happen with Instagram's Reels and Facebook's kind of answer to TikTok? And maybe it's kind of a long goodbye to TikTok.
I'll play a little bit of devil's advocate with Facebook's take on TikTok here, because I don't know if you guys remember or if you've heard of Lasso, but that was Facebook's original kind of stab at TikTok. I think we've been tracking it since 2018, and they recently shut it down. And we're like, it was such a flop. I would dare say that most people have never even heard of this, but Facebook has been trying to produce this TikTok clone for years, and they failed at it. From an Instagram Reels perspective, this is something we're tracking. We are seeing mentions start to tick up, but just to give scale, so this mention that you're looking at right here of TikTok, these are people actually using and downloading TikTok. That's how prevalent the mentions are. From Instagram Reels, just from a pure mentions perspective, so not even adding that overlay of downloading or using the app, it wasn't even large enough to put on the same chart. You couldn't even see it. It was like a little baby blip on the bottom. So I think that this is definitely something that Instagram Reels mentions are increasing for sure. And whenever you compare them year over year, Instagram Reels didn't exist a year ago. So this is something that we're watching, but it's so early. And thus far, it's not to the scale of TikTok, at least not yet.